My friend Jeannie has agreed to talk a little bit about her adventures, and I thought that we could begin by talking about the man who gave you your code name. Your code name during the war, when you were an intelligence agent, was Amniarix, which is a Druid name, and this was a ring of spies, each of whom had Druid names. The man who gave it to you was named Georges Lamarck. Perhaps you could tell people how you came to know Georges Lamarck, and then how he recruited you for his network.
No, I had met him at university, and I had admired him from the very beginning because he was so bright, he was so acute. Bon, and then war, of course, came in the meantime. But I then found him on a train.
Completely by accident. You just
Completely
happened
by accident. The accident was not meeting him, because that I had done already. But it so happened that I encountered him on a train. I was going to Vichy, where I was beginning to sort of try and find out what I could hear. I didn't know very much at the time of what I could hear, but I knew that I should hear. When the Germans arrived in France, they arrived very quickly in the west of France. Much to my father's astonishment, but they did. And I immediately understood that here I was in the heart of what I had been taught about. I understood that there was a chance for me to make use of my newly acquired knowledge. I didn't know how. And then I was arrested by the Germans in Dinard.
So the Germans had an agent perhaps in London who
That's
knew
what I was
that there
told.
was all this information
Yes,
coming, and
there
that
was
there must be
too much
some
information
source.
suddenly
Yes.
in Dinard. Bon. So, just to make things sure, they put me in prison. And here I was. And then the Germans in Dinard, who were rather astonished by my little knowledge of German and my interest in what they were doing generally, said, "Oh, it can't be this a charming young woman who is well educated, speaks perfect German, that is a fact, and she can't be responsible for anything nasty."
And so they let you go.
And they let me out. But I was forbidden to remain in Brittany, which was too dangerous. Bon.
You finally got people who were in the center of this program.
Oui.
And at a certain point, you asked them what they were doing, and because you were charming, they told you. And there's a famous intelligence report that you sent to Britain that talked about Raketen.
I didn't know what this was.
So tell us about that. You're hearing this word and you didn't even know what it meant. What?
No, I did not.
And what?
Rockets.
Yes.
But I didn't know the word rockets either.
I was going to ask, in that conversation, they also talked about how hard it was to get into this place. Cher Madame, it's very secret. And they told you all the ways
all the ways,
all the passes, and,
oui, oui.
And again, the way you were doing this was simply by listening attentively and smiling and saying, "Oh no, it's not possible." Is that right?
Oui, oui.
Okay. So that report of yours, with this astonishing material about the Raketen and the secret passes to get into this base at Peenemünde, etc., was sent back to London, to the British intelligence chiefs in London, who were so astonished by this report. And so
she knows probably more than she thinks she does. Therefore, you send her to us, because we'll interrogate her in a more serious fashion, so to speak.
So they tried to get you out of France by landing boats on the coast in
Oui.
Brittany.
Oui.
And you go to the coast, and somehow this operation has been disclosed to the Germans, and you're captured. Now, just perhaps you could tell us what if I remember, you were traveling as a woman called Madeline Chauffeur. Is that right?
Yes.
And what was Madeline Chauffeur? What did you tell the Germans when they tried to seize you there on the coast?
I think I had papers in the name of chauffeur.
Yes.
To make my life easier, en principe. I was carrying things which I pretended to be selling on the black market.
Like nylons.
Nylons, because I, for one, knew for one thing that in England there were no nylons.
Mm.
So I had nylons, but I had, of course, 2, 3 dozens, I don't remember how many. And what do you want with me? I'm just a poor little French person who is trying to make a little money out of selling nylons somewhere in Brittany, and they arrested me with my nylons.
Yes, with those poor nylons, but you were then sent to a series of camps. It's now August 1944.
Right away. I was first sent to prison.
Yes.
But it was the end of the war. Time was short for the Germans, so I was sent. Very soon after that, I was sent to a concentration camp. I was sent to a concentration camp called Ravensbrück. And it was not one of the nicest places I ever went to. Well, you had to take a stand, and in order to survive, you had to stick to the essentials.
You said that you tried with 2 of your friends to organize a rebellion of the prisoners to protest the conditions.
And we did. And we managed.
You told me that they sent you to a punishment camp where you were segregated and that you were so sick you nearly died. And I remember a haunting story you told me about how the Red Cross called out your name. Your name was one of those that had been...
Later.
Well, take us up to that.
It's when I was back in the camp.
Take us up to that.
It was a prison within the prison.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I hear my name called. Yes, that's the moment you are trying to remind me of. And I thought, if I don't get out of here, then people in that prison inside the camp would be
You'd all die.
Yeah. There were 3 of us, a little group that we sort of managed to stick together. And I said, everybody has heard my name when I was being called by the Red Cross as somebody they wanted to rescue in the first place. So if I don't come out, it'll be blamed on you. I will see to it, or rather, I won't be there. Somebody of my friends will see to it. Well, she allowed us 3, because I said, of course, it's 3 of us that will have to leave, not I only. And so we were allowed to leave. She said, I will keep the dogs, because this prison in the prison, in the camp, was guarded by dogs. And she said, I'll keep the dogs, and then I don't want to hear any more about it.
So you found that little bit of moral sensibility left in this woman.
I should think so.
Or maybe fear. Maybe she was afraid of you.
Maybe she was afraid of me.
Must have been
rather very fierce at the time.
I can believe that. Describe to me once what it was like being on the train going to Copenhagen and then to Switzerland.
That's when we left the camp.
Yes.
With the Swedish Red Cross.
Yes.
With Count Bernadotte.
So these were trucks or?
Trucks, yes. They were the end of the nightmare. If I have ever thought of the end of a nightmare, that's it. Suddenly, white army trucks were there, waiting for us inside the camp. We still were in the camp, and they were there, Swedish officers, etc. And we knew that if we touched the cars, if we touched these people, we would be saved. And this is what happened. So off we went. And as we were going through that part of Germany, before we were out of Germany, the population was still the population was turning their backs to the German guards who were in those places. They didn't say a word, they didn't move, they didn't make any movement, but they were there as additional proofs that it was about to be the end. Out of hell.
The exhibit at this museum, the International Spy Museum, will have many young people, many boys and girls, children the age of my children, who will come by and wonder, as they read about this woman who stole one of the great secrets of World War II, what spying is all about. What does it mean to be a spy?
We are in a state of war then. Can I do something to help in any fashion? Now, in my first teachings at the very beginning of the war, I had been told that giving details, even small details, even details you don't think that could be of any importance, can be read by people who will understand what they mean and use your capabilities. You understand German, you have a good relationship with people who have responsibilities in the German army. Use it. Ask apparently not very important questions, but then tie them together. Use your brain. So that's all there is to it.
People who go to the movies think that spying is about James Bond, and
I love good such films.
But spying is not about James Bond.
No.
What is it?
Spying. No, there are great spies who do difficult things, and more than what I did, of course. But it's a work of patience, and if I may say so myself, of cunning. If you are capable of matching things that don't seem to be related, then you have the beginning of a mental understanding of the situation. And since you are not in the army, since you are not in a plane, since you are not doing anything really beautiful, you can at least do that. So use your brain, if it is a brain, use your capacities and just do it.
You told me once when I asked you why you had done this, how you had made the decision to do it. Basically, you said that was a stupid question, that you didn't...
It is.
Well, explain why it's a stupid question.
It's one of these things very difficult to explain. But you are in a situation where you don't think you cannot do it, where you think that you cannot but do that. And that's where it starts. And one thing brings to the next, of course.
But it's not a choice. It's a something that you have to do.
It's a moral obligation. Do what you're capable of doing. Do what, as a matter of fact, what you've been taught to do generally in life. Mm-hmm. Use your brain. Mm-hmm. Even when you don't understand the exact meaning of what you gather, of what you're suddenly told, or not told yourself, but which you have been given to here, how could you not do it?
After the war, there were many, I want to say millions of French people who liked to pretend that they had done this automatic thing, that they had automatically done the right thing. But that's not true, is it? In other words, not everybody does the right thing automatically. Some people just go along.
Among the people who had a little doing in the war, in the resistance, let us say, many did it for that reason. I am very ill, in an ill way, trying to say they could not imagine not doing it. It was an obligation. If I say moral obligation, I seem to be using big words. No, but it was an obligation. You were not given the choice, as a matter of fact. You were put there, you had the ability to do this and that, so all that was left to you was to do it.
So let me close with just one last question. When you look back across time at these events, does it give you pride and pleasure to think of what you did?
Certainly not.
Why not?
Because there is no reason for pride to enter into this. As I said, you were put in a situation where the general state of affairs was that the only thing of use that you could do was that. And so you did it. I don't even understand the question. And yes, I understand the question. But it doesn't make sense to me.
I think that's a good way to end it. And I think that what I take from that is that people who really are heroes, it's not a choice.
Heroes.
It's not a choice. They don't understand when you ask, what did it feel like to make the choice? Do you feel proud to have made the choice? It wasn't a choice. No. It was automatic. And I think
not
that's
automatic, but it was a must.
It was a must. Well, let's leave it there. I'm so glad that that people had a chance to learn a little bit about your amazing life and works. If they want to know more,
nothing amazing, nothing very special. One of many.
We have documents that have been compiled from British intelligence archives. A lengthy summary that was done when you were given one of the highest classifications of the Legion of Honor here in France that describes what you did and the difference it made for the Allies in World War II. But as your friend, I just want to thank you for taking the time to do this, Jeannie.
You are a very good interrogator, as I told you yesterday, I think.